At 27,000 feet below the surface, the Mariana Trench is a realm of crushing pressure and absolute darkness. A place where life as we know it simply shouldn't exist. Yet a deep-sea lander's camera just captured something moving in the abyss, challenging our entire understanding of biology. So, what exactly did the lander capture at the Mariana Trench? Could this unimaginable discovery redefine how we look for life on other worlds? Join us as we go into the deepest canyon on Earth to uncover a mystery that was never meant to see the light of day. Tell us in the comments if you think this could be the one discovery that changes everything we thought we knew about the Mariana Trench. The recent Mariana Trench discovery that changes everything. For over a century, humans have been staring into the abyss of the Mariana Trench, trying to peek behind the curtain of Earth's most secretive realm. Ever since the HMS Challenger expedition first dropped weighted ropes into these waters in 1872, every single voyage has brought back mind-blowing discoveries. Yet none of them managed to capture the true, raw essence of this underwater underworld until now. A state-of-the-art lander was just plunged 27,000 feet straight down into the blackness. And what it captured has left even the most hardened, cynical researchers completely speechless. So what exactly is it about this recent discovery that's turning heads? Stick around, because what we are about to uncover changes everything we thought we knew about survival on Earth. To truly understand how wild this discovery is, you have to picture the sheer scale of the Mariana Trench. It is hidden beneath the ocean's waves in the western Pacific, stretching out like a massive crescent-shaped scar in the planet's crust for 2,550 kilometers. It is so deep that if you took Mount Everest, flipped it upside down, and dropped it into the trench, the peak wouldn't even come close to touching the bottom. Down there, the weight of the entire ocean presses down on you with a bone-crushing 15,750 pounds per square inch. That is over 1,000 times the pressure we feel right now, combined with pitch-black darkness and water temperatures that hover just a hair above freezing. It sounds like a total wasteland, right? Well, think again. Against all imaginable odds, this alien world is absolutely teeming with life. In 2021, Chinese scientists boarded a cutting-edge deep-sea submarine named Fenduje and pulled off an incredible 33 dives into the abyss, plunging down to depths of nearly 36,000 feet. They hauled back thousands of samples of sediment and seawater, giving us our very first systematic look at this hidden ecosystem. What they found was a biological goldmine, alongside tiny side-scuttling crustaceans called amphipods and the famous Hadal snailfish, the deepest living fish on record, which physically adapted its body to withstand the crushing weight. Scientists mapped out over 7,000 distinct species of microbes. But here's the kicker. Nearly 90% of them had never been documented by science before. This brings us right to the heart of the latest 2025 expedition, where things take a truly mind-bending turn. When researchers looked at the DNA of these newly discovered ultra-deep microbes, they found something revolutionary. Some of these tiny organisms have actually shrunk their own genomes, making themselves hyper-efficient specialists that can easily thrive under catastrophic pressure. Others have expanded their genetic code, giving themselves ultimate flexibility to adapt to anything the trench throws at them. But these microbes aren't just surviving. They might actually hold the key to saving our surface world. Because these organisms have spent millions of years evolving unique genes to survive without sunlight or standard nutrients, their biological blueprints are unlike anything else on Earth. Scientists are now realizing that these bizarre deep-sea genes could be used to create entirely new medicines and technologies, helping us protect and restore threatened biodiversity back up on land where resources are rapidly running out. It is absolutely mind-boggling that we can explore the very bottom of our planet with such incredible precision. This whole alien landscape was created millions of years ago when two massive pieces of the Earth's crust collided, forcing the seafloor to plunge downward into a terrifying chasm. We used to think these deep ocean trenches were cold, empty graves, but it turns out they are packed with life and hold an exciting, untapped future for science. But these microscopic breakthroughs are only a small fraction of what is actually down there. So what else is hiding in the deepest, darkest corners of the ocean floor? Keep watching to find out. Life without sunlight, the bizarre creatures of the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is extremely dangerous and costs a fortune to reach. Because of the deadly water pressure, only a tiny number of people have ever traveled to the very bottom in person. Instead, scientists rely on robotic cameras and remote landers to see what is down there. Because human diving is so rare, most of this deep ocean canyon remains completely unexplored. Each and every one of the pioneering missions carried out is not just wildly risky but also incredibly technical, meticulously planned, and astronomically expensive to execute. Yet despite its legendary fame among scientists, a thick shroud of deep mystery still completely surrounds this isolated part of our blue planet. Marine scientists have only managed to explore a tiny fraction of its vast layout, but the unsettling findings they have already uncovered are turning heads and shocking the scientific community. From everyday household trash sitting untouched at the very bottom to bizarre deep-sea creatures with see-through heads and gigantic bug-like bodies, the abyss is proving to be a surreal, alien world. Each new dive into the dark seems to reveal something totally unexpected, along with some truly strange discoveries. When we think of modern environmental threats, we usually picture cluttered city landfills or polluted suburban rivers, but plastic is easily one of the worst and most harmful scourges of modern human life. It is so incredibly resilient that human plastic pollution has officially reached the deepest, most inaccessible parts of the world's oceans. In 2019, legendary American explorer Victor Vescovo bravely descended into the heart of the Mariana Trench in a high-tech submersible, aiming to shatter the world record for the deepest dive ever made by a human. He spent 4 fascinating hours navigating the absolute bottom of the trench, watching various otherworldly sea creatures gracefully float through the dark, icy waters. But right alongside those magnificent adapted animals, he spotted sweet wrappers and a standard grocery store plastic bag resting on the seafloor. This truly shocking discovery was made in a hostile location where the water pressure violently exceeds 1,000 times the pressure we experience at sea level. It is a completely brutal environment where temperatures permanently hover just a tiny bit above freezing, and the landscape is cast in absolute pitch-black darkness. While most typical deep-sea creatures naturally give this intense trench a wide berth, our surface world pollution has managed to conquer it. Oceanographers believe that this plastic either sinks at a painstakingly slow rate through the water column over decades, or it is aggressively dragged down into the abyss by powerful swirling ocean currents. Once a piece of plastic finally settles on the muddy ocean floor, it can easily remain there completely intact for centuries. The total absence of sunlight, combined with exceptionally low oxygen levels and a lack of robust biological activity, means there is simply nothing down there to break the synthetic material down. Most disturbing of all, the magnificent Mariana Trench, which was once believed to be completely isolated from human reach, is now a permanent part of our global environmental footprint. While the sudden discovery of floating plastic bags is deeply unsettling, the biological discoveries of actual Mariana Trench animals are where things get truly strange. Take the Dumbo octopus, for example, which is widely considered the absolute cutest creature of the entire deep-sea bunch. Don't let those charming ear-like fins fool you, because it is also one of the most vicious predators down there, routinely swallowing its prey completely alive and whole. If you think that is wild, then you need to meet the spectacular barrel-eye fish, a creature that roams the crushing darkness with a fully see-through, transparent head. Inside that clear dome of a skull sit 2 vibrant, barrel-shaped green eyes that point directly upward, allowing the fish to perfectly track the subtle silhouettes and faint shadows of its preferred prey swimming above. Incredibly, scientists did not even know the barrel-eye fish existed until 1939, when a stray specimen was pulled up from 2,500 feet below the surface. Even now, so many decades later, researchers still know very little about how this fish reproduces or navigates its mysterious life cycle. The deeper you go, the more the rules of biology seem to warp, and the trench is also home to giant amphipods and giant isopods. These creatures represent a mind-boggling evolutionary phenomenon known to biologists as deep-sea gigantism. Amphipods are basic crustaceans closely related to ordinary surface shrimp. When these creatures live near the surface, they stay quite small, often growing to just a few modest centimeters in length. However, when they are found deep inside the Mariana Trench, some specimens easily exceed a massive 30 centimeters. These giant bug-like creatures look exactly like oversized, heavily armored insects as they slowly crawl and swim through the expansive darkness. Their massive size is deeply puzzling to researchers, especially given how incredibly scarce food resources are at these extreme depths. Even stranger is their supernatural ability to withstand the crushing physical pressure of the deep. Their internal cells, proteins, and delicate membranes are uniquely built to resist being squeezed flat by the weight of the ocean, but experts are still working to figure out exactly how this mechanism functions. One of the most dramatic and unexpected discoveries in the Mariana Trench is that some parts of it are not actually cold, dark, and perfectly still. On the contrary, certain deep sections are almost violently active, featuring hydrothermal vents that literally crack open the rocky seafloor to release superheated water from deep within the Earth's molten core. This subterranean water can blast out at temperatures blistering past 400 degrees Celsius, carrying a heavy soup of dissolved metals and chemicals that would be instantly toxic to almost any normal life form on the surface. Yet against all logic, dense communities of unique sea life enthusiastically gather right around these volcanic vents. In fact, these hydrothermal zones host entire thriving ecosystems that choose to feed on raw chemistry instead of classic sunlight. Specialized bacteria directly convert toxic sulfur and harsh minerals into pure energy through a process called chemosynthesis. Larger animals then depend entirely on these microscopic bacteria to survive, either ingesting them as food or harboring them safely within their own bodies. Some of the most fascinating creatures that cluster around these vents include giant tube worms and thick beds of deep-sea clams. They form dense, bustling colonies in an otherwise empty, desolate underwater landscape, creating a surreal scene that closely resembles an active industrial zone, complete with plumes of dark mineral smoke rising heavily into the water. This discovery definitively proved to modern science that life does not actually need sunlight to exist, and that vital life-giving energy can emanate directly from the Earth itself. This single realization completely changed how we think about life on our blue planet, opening up wild new possibilities for finding living organisms elsewhere in the vast universe. But finding these hydrothermal ecosystems was only possible after decades of intense exploration. How did humans actually manage to reach and map the absolute deepest place on Earth? Don't go anywhere. The 150-year race to map the ocean's deepest pit. Ever since humans first looked out at the open ocean, we have been obsessed with mapping its deepest secrets. The epic race to measure the absolute bottom of the world began way back in 1875 during the famous Challenger expedition. Sailors dropped a basic, heavily weighted rope into the water, and it kept sinking until it recorded a staggering depth of 26,850 feet. Just 2 years later, a map was published labeling this mysterious location as the Challenger Deep. By 1899, a converted ship named the USS Nero pushed those numbers even further, recording a depth of 31,614 feet. But these early explorers were truly just scratching the surface, and nobody was prepared for what modern technology would uncover next. Stay right here, because the timeline of how we conquered this abyss gets wilder with every single dive. As technology advanced, scientists traded in their old-school ropes for sound waves. In 1951, a research vessel named Challenger 2 used an innovative echo-sounding system to bounce audio signals off the seafloor. This made measuring the deep vastly easier and much more precise, officially clocking the Challenger Deep at an incredible 35,760 feet. Not to be outdone, a Soviet vessel called the Vityaz swept into the area in 1957 and reported an even deeper measurement of 36,201 feet at a spot they named the Mariana Hala. Decades later, in 1984, a Japanese survey ship used a multi-beam sounder to narrow the gap, while their robotic vehicle Kaiko made history in 1995 by diving down to directly touch the floor at 35,797 feet. Just when everyone thought the maps were finalized, the trench threw another major curveball. Between 1997 and 2001, scientists towing a specialized sonar system behind their ship discovered a completely new deep spot near Guam. They named it the HMRG Deep, and it proved that the floor of the trench was far more rugged and uneven than anyone had ever imagined. By 2009, a high-tech ship called the Kilo Moana used phase and amplitude sonar to map a spot at 35,994 feet with extreme accuracy. Just 2 years later, a U.S. Navy hydrographic ship mapped the entire trench in high resolution, revealing 4 massive rocky outcrops that used to be ancient underwater mountains. But measuring the trench from a cozy ship deck wasn't enough for the world's most daring researchers. In 2012, scientists from Washington University and Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution dropped seismometers and hydrophones directly onto the seafloor. They weren't just looking at the bottom, they were peering beneath it, mapping geological structures a massive 60 miles deep under the crust to see how water cycles through the interior of our planet. This groundbreaking research set the stage for a dramatic shift from robotic mapping to actual human exploration, and the era of crewed voyages was about to explode. Getting a robot to the bottom of the ocean is a massive achievement, but sending living humans into a zone of crushing pressure is a completely different story. The legendary first crewed descent happened on January 23, 1960, when a Swiss-designed bathyscaphe named the Trieste plunged into the abyss. On board were brave explorers Don Walsh and Jacques Picard, riding in a tiny steel capsule that used heavy iron shot for ballast and gasoline for buoyancy. Their onboard instruments initially screamed that they had reached 37,800 feet, though scientists later corrected that number to 35,814 feet after calculating the dense weight of the saltwater. For decades, that historic dive stood entirely alone as an unbreakable record. That was until Hollywood royalty decided to enter the race. In March 2012, acclaimed filmmaker James Cameron climbed into a bright green custom-built submersible called the Deep Sea Challenger. He became the first person to execute a solo dive to the absolute bottom, reaching 35,787 feet and capturing high-definition footage of a barren alien landscape. Just a few years later, in 2015, a team of ocean researchers managed to drop a heavy titanium-shelled hydrophone into the Challenger deep. Even though they couldn't pull the microphone back up until November, its storage capacity filled up in just 23 days. When experts finally listened to the audio, they were shocked to hear a noisy symphony of earthquakes, typhoons, moaning baleen whales, and the distant mechanical thrum of surface boats passing by miles above. The door to the deep was now wide open, and an elite group of modern explorers was ready to step through. In 2019, adventurer Victor Vescovo made headlines by piloting his advanced submersible, the limiting factor, down to a record-breaking 35,853 feet. Vescovo didn't just visit. He completed 4 separate dives in a single week, becoming the very first human to see the bottom of the world more than once. The international race heated up even further in 2020 when a Russian robotic vehicle named Vityaz-D became the first fully autonomous drone to operate on the trench floor for over 3 hours. Months later, the Chinese submersible Fendouje hit the bottom at 35,791 feet, cementing their spot in deep sea history. Every single one of these historic milestones has paved the way for groundbreaking representation and shocking new discoveries on the ocean floor. In July 2022, scientist Dawn Wright made history by becoming the very first Black woman to explore the Mariana Trench. Serving as a mission specialist alongside pilot Victor Vescovo, she used advanced side-scan sonar to map an uncharted section known as the Western Pool. But as they scanned the pristine seafloor, they spotted a depressing reminder of the surface world, an ordinary glass beer bottle sitting in the mud. Human impact had officially beaten us to the most isolated place on Earth. Thankfully, the trench continues to offer brilliant biological surprises alongside these stark warnings about pollution. When the Chinese sub Fendouje returned from a massive expedition, diving an incredible 23 times into the darkness, it revealed that the abyss is anything but empty. Researchers reported finding thousands of thriving marine tube worms and specialized mollusks living at depths ranging from 8,200 all the way down to 31,000 feet. Today, the legendary Mariana Trench stands as a monument to human curiosity, proving that even in the coldest, darkest, and most oppressive corners of our planet, life and science will always find a way to flourish. Do you think there is still more to be discovered in the Mariana Trench? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.